That's better. Let's talk COVID-19 vaccines. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Watching all these memes, the TikTok memes, and all the bad news is going on in the nation today, I thought I would give you my take on just what the COVID-19 vaccine is, what it entails, and try to debunk some of the common misconceptions. Disclaimer, this is no way meant to persuade you one way or another to get the vaccine or to not get the vaccine. This video is intended to just give you an unbiased look at what the COVID-19 vaccine and what vaccines in general are. Let's talk COVID-19 vaccine. Let's talk about a few definitions. What is a vaccine? A vaccine is simply a product, whether it can be injected intramuscular, intranasally, or orally, that gives you immunity to a disease. So then, what is vaccination? Vaccination is simply a mechanism by which we give a vaccine that provides your body with the tools to prevent getting a disease. Vaccination is a byproduct of vaccines. That makes sense. So vaccine is simply a product that provides immunity for a specific disease. Like back then we had polio, chickenpox, all these different types of vaccines, measles, rubella, all these different types of vaccines we have already. The influenza vaccine, all these are vaccines. Vaccination is the process of getting the vaccine that causes your body to react and produce these antibodies that prevents you from getting the disease. Then we talk about what immunization is. Immunization is simply the process by which a person becomes protected from disease. Immunization can occur naturally. So for instance, when we get chickenpox, our body sees the varicella virus and it begins to produce antibodies. Now you don't get chickenpox again for the second time. You're immune or immunized against that. Or you can get the varicella vaccine and don't ever get chickenpox in general. There's another process by which immunization takes place, be a vaccine or be a natural process. Either way, your body sees a new protein, virus, bacteria, and it reacts, it produces antibodies, and it protects you from getting the disease. So now let me talk about what a vaccine is. Hope you have a clear understanding. Let's talk about the type of vaccines. There's a very common misconception of what vaccines really are. So we have multiple types of vaccines. We have live vaccines, attenuated vaccines. We have kill vaccines. We have subunit vaccines. We have DNA vaccines, mRNA vaccines, RNA vaccines. And each one of these vaccines, what they basically do is they trigger your body to produce defenses, aka antibodies, that when they see that disease process, that disease causes to age it again, it knows how to deal with it so that you don't get sick again. So what vaccines are currently available for COVID-19? There's two major ball players right now in the COVID-19 vaccine processes. You know, we have Moderna and you have the Pfizer or BioNTech. Both of these vaccines are very unique in the way they function. They are mRNA type of vaccines. So that being said, the virus itself is not being injected into you guys. So you're not going to get the COVID-19 from the vaccine, the mRNA vaccine. So what does the mRNA vaccine do? In simple terms, it gives your body the instructions to make a protein that's also seen in the coronavirus, the spike protein. These right here, it causes them to produce a spike protein. And when it sees the spike protein, your body begins to produce antibodies against that spike protein. Obtain COVID in the environment, and that COVID produces that spike protein. Your body's like, whoa, chill out. We can't have that. One of the major problems people really are skeptical about is how do we produce these vaccines so quickly? As most vaccines take 20 years, 10 years, multiple phases of trials in order for it to become effective. You have to take into account two different principles. One, the whole nation, the whole world was working on this vaccine at one time, and we put in billions and billions and billions of dollars of research into this vaccine. So we were able to focus in on one type of vaccine. And another thing we have to understand is that we were working towards a way of mass producing a vaccine. I put a link somewhere right here, or an article somewhere right here, how to mass produce a vaccine quickly for Pandemic X. Basically what Pandemic X is, if a virus of unknown origin comes and presents itself, how can we quickly combat it? We have had ongoing research on how to deal with this for quite some time. So the Moderna vaccine is one of the two major ball players, like I said before, that we're using for COVID right now. It's an intramuscular, meaning you just get a needle right in the arm, and you have to go back for 2 doses. This one, the 2 doses are given within a month apart, opposed to the Pfizer vaccine. You get 2 doses, but it's about 3 weeks apart. The major downside of these vaccines is the fact they have to be stored in very cold temperatures. Moderna has to be stored at negative 20 degrees Celsius, and the Pfizer vaccine has to be stored at negative 70 degrees Celsius. Furthermore, People try to debate which one is better. They both have about equal efficacy. I'll put a picture right here describing how the efficacy of both of these compare. The newest ball players who come in the game right now that can drastically change the way in which vaccines are being administered, because one of the biggest downfalls right now is the fact that we have a very short supply of vaccines. So Johnson & Johnson, you guys know, body wash, Johnson & Johnson, little babies, they're producing a vaccine right now that has two major upsides. The first upside is it doesn't have to be stored in very low temperatures. Second advantage, it only requires one dose. So if that gets approved for emergency use, then we'll have a very increased ability to, dish out more vaccines to people, and the follow-up non-adherence probably will go down a lot compared to having had the 2 doses for Moderna and Pfizer. Now let's get into what most people are really asking the questions about: side effects. Side effects of COVID. Everyone's talking about, oh man, anaphylactic shock. These are very few and far in between. Anaphylaxis, unless you are allergic to something within the vaccine. Now I posted a little picture right here, all this stuff that's in the vaccine. Unless you have a history of anaphylaxis or anaphylactic reaction to any of the products within the vaccine, then there's a very, 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 very low probability that you will have an anaphylactic reaction from the vaccine. Barring that, we always observe people, regardless of what vaccine they get, for about 15 minutes after they get the vaccine. And personally, I've done it to other patients in the hospital. We observe them for about 15 minutes. And the most common complaint is just the arm soreness following the first dose, and even more arm pain at the injection site following the second administration of the second dose. Other than that, you get the typical flu-like reactions to any vaccine. You get the fatigue, the malaise, the myalgias, the slight fevers, but most people report these last 2 or 3 days, and it subsides. Most patients I talked to said that second dose really hits them quite a bit harder, and it gives them more of those flu-like symptoms, the fatigue, like I said, the muscle aches, the fatigue. But guys, this is just it's a normal reaction to vaccines in general. That's why people who get the influenza vaccine, they say, oh, what's the point of getting the influenza vaccine when I'm gonna get the flu regardless? No, it's not you getting the flu regardless. It's just your body beginning to fight off this new presented antigen, aka what you give it, and it's beginning to produce those antibodies. It's normal reaction. Don't stress and don't be upset that you might got COVID before and after. And there's an article going around talking about people getting the coronavirus vaccine and they're still getting coronavirus. That's more likely probably due to the fact they already had COVID in the incubation period. They just didn't show up in their testing until after they got the COVID vaccine. There's very few cases, I think I showed efficacy before, that you could get the COVID vaccine and you still get COVID. I mean, there's always a possibility, but the possibility is very low. Let's talk about the future of COVID vaccines and COVID-19 in general. There are multiple strains of COVID now emerging. The UK strain, all these new mutant strains. We're hoping that the COVID-19 vaccine can have coverage for these new mutant strands. These new mutant strains aren't any more deadly, they're just even more contagious. We have to adhere to the proper precautions that we placed about us, the wearing a mask, the 6 feet apart, social distancing, and limiting the amount of social interactions. But guys, like I said, COVID is a very tricky process right now. We're doing our best to deal with what's going on. It's a very new variant of an old disease that we're trying our best to combat. Like I said before, disclaimer, this is no way to persuade you one way or another to get the vaccine or not get the vaccine. It's simply a way to educate yourself, and if you choose not to get the vaccine now and rely on herd immunity, then you can choose to do that. But I just want to give you guys a little bit of information regarding what the vaccine is, how they work, common side effects, and what to expect going forward with the COVID-19 protocol. This is BuffMed, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you haven't done so far, press the subscribe button, hit the like button, give us a thumbs up, share the video, and as usual, we're out.